Good morning, guys. Welcome to Knowledge Empowers podcast. As always, today here with you is me, Kat. 안녕하세요. Then we have Baruch.
Hello.
And we have Kolaj.
Dobré ráno.
Actually, I have been told by someone that why do I introduce Kolaj as Kolaj? Well, that's his nickname. Deal with it.
There you go.
For
Well done.
English,
well done.
Right. And for the English speaker, it just means cake. It's the pure translation.
Or pie.
Or a pie.
Yeah.
Oh, sweetie pie.
But
Anyway.
hey, I don't get this with nicknames. I mean, no US will know that if Baruch is actually derivated from Barbara. So, like, what the hell?
Yeah, she's Baruch. I'm Kat and you are Kolaj, and that's
Yep,
it. Done.
that's it.
Exactly.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. Actually, in Korean, they have ch, they have z, they have j. These are Slovaks also
Vowels.
consonants, vowels. No, consonants. These are.
Unfortunately.
Consonant.
So basically what I wanted to say that there are some nations that are capable to replicate the pronunciation exactly the same way as we do. Anyhow, today is the continue of a feedback session number 2. And today we're going to dig into, let's say, stories or things that happen to us. As an example, how do you tell your colleague that he or she stinks? Or how do you say to your wife that she cooks badly without any divorce or or that some plate would end up on your head or anything like that? And we will also dig deeper into what is SARA model, what is radical candor, and then Kolaj, how did you translate smutkova linia?
Well, it's Kubler-Ross grief cycle.
Oh,
That's the official name of it.
oh.
Those are the stages of grieving.
So let's start with the stinking problem. And I'll share.
Yeah, I wonder how you say that because I don't think it ever happened to me. But it's a nasty feedback, or it's one of those feedbacks you need to give to someone, or whether it's cooking or whether it's thinking or somebody did something really, really bad. So I wonder how you've handled that or how you did that.
I'm not even gonna share like how we handle it. I'm literally going to share the story. So the first story, I was just a regular employee, and we had a newcomer, and just to as through podcast or even video, you can smell. So I'm gonna try to explain by words. So imagine following your worn clothes you already put in a basket that will go for washing, and after 1 week, as they are waiting in that basket, you would put them on. Can you all imagine that smell? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now you come to work, and on top of that, you are a heavy smoker with the most ugliest cigarettes possible. So here it was Mars, and if I say that Mark, everyone know they really stink. So
Now
can
that
we say that, Mark?
Now that we promoted them, can we get some money from them?
Money.
Since it's advertising.
And so imagine of that very heavy ashtray kind of a smell with those clothes after 1 week in the basket for washing. And that person was sitting right opposite to me, and it was, oh my God, I just couldn't breathe. And I literally went to my team leader and I just said, do something about it. Tell him, do something about it. And he was hesitant. Actually, he didn't even deal with it. The thing resolved by itself that the person actually left. And I was then asking him, like, why didn't you deal with it? And he was like, what would I tell him? Like, what he thinks? I said, I don't know. You're the team leader. Deal with it. I don't care. So I literally just pushed the problem to the team leader instead of dealing it myself, but it was really horrible. So that was one. And the second one was colleagues, what they did to another colleague. Okay, I'm not going to say the brands, but there are these trees that you usually put in your car so it smells nice. And they bought more than 20 of them, and they stick them on the bottom side of the table. So the entire bottom side of table was covered with these sort of smelly nice trees. And then you had two different kind of smells, because that's a heavy perfume thing with the smell. So you had clash of two things. And did it help? No. It didn't resolve the problem as well. So these are two stories I shared with you. And then
But how would you do it? How would you do it now, after all these years?
Actually, when I was on a leadership training done by external company, we discussed this, and they told us how you should deal with it. But before I answer, I want to know what you would do. So it's not just me who's talking.
So Baruch, ladies first.
I would ask him if they would like to shower once in a while. That's it. No, I don't know. It's really, it's really tough. Like, you don't want to hurt person, but you don't want to smell it during a day. so I don't know. It's very, because sometimes, you cannot really, there are people who have health issues, right? So it's harder for them to deal with that. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that they have bad hygiene. They just don't have sufficient hygiene compared to their condition. So I think I would start with like what's happening, like my observation, what's happening in the office, like how
whether on some specific day it gets worse.
No. It's like how people's, like, what's the impact on people around, and like I would kind of suggest, like, if they can like look into it or something like that, if they can do something about it. But it's really tough. It's because it's getting personal, right? So I don't know.
It gets personal on you too, because you are the one that needs to smell it, no?
Yeah. But it's, for you, it's not that personal. It's not attack on your person.
Sorry, I have a big nose. It's
attack
very personal. That thing can smell anything, so it's very personal.
Okay, let me put it this way. Your feelings are not going to get hurt.
That's true. Just my smell senses.
I liked Baruch, like how you approached it in a passive aggressive way. Like, can you show me more?
Of course, it's not the right way. I was just joking.
Another way is maybe you put a sticky note, like something like that. Like, okay,
you smell
more, or I know those on the leadership training, like putting a deodorant on the table. Like, maybe you want this.
No! Don't do that! Don't do that!
Don't do that. That's passive aggressive.
Perfume trees, right?
No, that's not gonna work. Yep, and it's gonna destroy the relationship. But first of all, I would figure out your mindset when you feel this issue within you, or you have this tension. Actually, it's tension because something is wrong, or something you perceive that something is wrong. In this case, somebody is cooking wrong and you don't like it, or there is this smell or odor or whatever. So first of all, figure out what you want for yourself, figure out what you want for the other person, and figure out what you want for your relation between you two. And with this,
divorce.
Yeah, maybe, but figure out this before you open the conversation. This is your mantra, your mindset. Then you need to establish the safe environment where this is going to be discussed. So I don't think that the open space is the solution for this.
Correct.
Yep, you don't like go and stand up. Hey, you go there and Peter, you just no. Probably the better
You
way to
stink.
yeah, better way to create this open, this safe environment is probably taking the person somewhere else where nobody can hear you. The best way is also, that's from David Rock, to ask for the permission if you can, that it's going to be personal and that you want to give some sort of feedback, which might not be really from everybody, but it's coming from you and you feel it, that it needs to be discussed. So your mindset, safe environment, and then opening with the permission. That's how you first cross. And then I would start with how you feel, what's the behavior you observe, and what's the impact. And that's it. And no suggestions, no recommendations, nothing. You just tell how you feel. Okay, you probably feel sorry because you are going to open something which hurts, but you feel that it needs to be addressed because it's impacting you. You don't talk about other people. You don't talk that, hey, I've got this, that, everybody's talking this behind your back. No, that's rubbish. Just talk
But
from your
if you're a team leader, as someone, like in Kat's example, someone will tell you like, hey, that person stinks, and you are a team leader, so sort it out. So you must talk about other people.
I would
No, but you will take it on yourself. Like you are the one telling it.
Yep.
Right, but you cannot say like, hey, man,
no, you will. No, you will. You will, like, exactly like what Kolaj said, that you will take it. Okay, if Kat told me as a team leader that that person stinks, then I will say that that person stinks to me.
But how can I do that if I, for example, sit on the other side of the office from that person?
That doesn't matter, because you're literally going to share the like the way we were taught, like exactly what Kolaj said. That's what we had on the leadership training, was that first of all, never in open space, right? Somewhere where literally no one can hear us. Do not offer any deodorant, shower gels, etc., etc. No way. And then really say, it will be feedback that might hurt, but always say, just on, even if you would sit on total different, like as far away as possible, you just share it. That person will not think of like, hey, but you sit too far away from me or anything like that, because you always cross your path during a day, and you just literally say that your odor is like not nice and it's smelly, and maybe then you will find out that the person has some health issues. Maybe you will find out that the person had even no idea that they stink, because sometimes you can't smell yourself. So yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't go for like, hey, everybody is like that, because that usually triggers the question, like, who's the everybody? Tell me the names. Like, who is it, the person? Because you're now dealing with somebody who's not actually giving you the feedback, but somebody else. And you feel not more that you're receiving feedback, but more like you're betrayed by somebody else. That's the emotion. Somebody just was telling to somebody else that I need to deal with that. What the hell?
I mean, makes sense. Although if I was the guy receiving the feedback, I would be thinking like, oh my God, do I smell that bad that the person on the other side of the office can smell
And
it?
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. If you have that, I mean, that's something what we can discuss. That's the opening discussion. But you target what's the problem. You talk about the behavior. What is it, and the impact? Like, okay, I can't concentrate, or it disturbs me. It makes the open space a bit worse. I know that we are in the open space and we can't get offices where you could log in, but hey, well, this is how it is right now. And so, and you don't offer any sort of solutions like, I'm gonna buy you deodorant. No, you just shut up for a moment.
Yeah,
You shut
exactly.
up. You just shut up. You just shut up, and you will wait for the other person to talk up. And then you can, after the person speaks up, maybe there will be some shock or some grief or whatsoever. After it passes, then you can talk, okay, so what we are going to do about it.
And this is nice bridge what you've just said, that person might go through shock. So there is so-called SARA model, SARAH, 5 letters. And that's basically, these are emotions that people or a person goes through whatever information the person receives. Sometimes it's just quick, like whew, that you just fly through those emotions. Sometimes you may stuck in one of those emotions. Sometimes you can stuck even days or weeks in one of that emotions, and what it is. So I'm gonna say the letters, and Kolach will say what they stands for. So no, exactly. Do I have a test? Do I have a test?
You're doing it just because you don't remember.
I do. So what does this S stands for?
It's shock.
Correct. What does the A stands for?
That's anger.
Correct. R
Is resistance.
and then A.
Acceptance.
And what H stands for?
I don't think there is H. Is there H?
There is H. Hope.
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 And I remember it was put in the brackets.
In the brackets.
It doesn't necessarily needs to be there usually or all the time.
And you can also see this SARA model written in our comments, like what each letter stands for. And literally whatever information we receive, that's what we go through, is like the shock, the anger. And literally we can be in one of the stages for a longer period of time. And especially if we are in an anger mode. So imagine you're giving someone feedback, you stink. So the person first goes in a shock, then sort of in an anger that why no one told him or her sooner. If you're trying to provide a solution to a person who is in an anger mode, there is a zero listening whatsoever. Do not provide solution while person is in anger mode. There will be literally zero impact.
And don't tell them to calm down.
Oh, yeah. The anger just up.
Yeah, but when we are talking about this SARA model, I feel like it was derived from this Kubler-Ross grief cycle because it has really similar stages. The first is denial, so you're avoiding the situation altogether. Like that can't be me. There needs to be someone else.
Think.
Yeah, it's not me. It's you. Then there is this anger, like we were describing before, like, okay, this frustration, irritation, anxiety, like, no, you have to be wrong, really, like getting angry there. And then usually there is depression. So you're like, oh, but I can't do anything without that. I'm hopeless. You will need to deal with it because I'm just wrong. I'm the bad guys here. Right? I'm always wrong. I'm always bad. Then usually bargaining comes. Okay, so let's switch places, or let's do something else. Let's have these closed spaces so that I don't bother anyone, so that you don't have to change. The situation doesn't have to change. And then comes the acceptance. Okay, so let's look for a plan. Let's look for a solution. Let's look for a new plan which we can build. I feel like these two are really similar towards each other, and I know that usually there is something psychological on behind all these popular models, because that's how you get it popular. You need to transform it, play with the words a bit, give it a nice shortcut, acronym, and suddenly it's totally something brand new and useful at the same time.
Called SARA model. But it's just something, guys. Keep that in mind, that whenever you're talking to someone and you're literally sharing an information, as soon as you just think of SARA model, that the person literally just go through these emotional stages. Sometimes it's just a few seconds and they go through all of those stages. Sometimes they can stuck weeks, days, minutes in a specific emotion, but it immediately helps you to, how to say that, like, restrain yourself the way you now going to further communicate with that person, because if they're really in anger mode, literally whatever you would tell them, there is zero listening. It would just make them further angrier. And then just tell them, you know what, let's talk about it tomorrow. Let's both have a sleep. Emotions will drop down, and then we can talk about it again over the coffee or something. And that way, both of you are more open to listening and are better to move to an acceptance level and then do the change or whatever is needed.
Actually, for me, if the person gets angry, it's nice. From my perspective, it's nicer because the person gets the energy and the person is trying to do something about it, like, okay, this energy is there and it's heavy, and we can, and you can turn it around and move it the right direction. What I don't like is when the person closes and gets crying, because then
Or
usually
shuts down.
the energy is suddenly squeezed out of the room, because the person is really shocked and impacted by that. And there is, like, you can't give energy to such person, like, oh, don't cry, let's do something about it, like, what the no, that's not how it works. So usually when that happens, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna withdraw from this situation as well. And at least mentally, like, 1, 2, 3, 4.
But this is a good one. Did you had someone that cried when you were giving feedback or something?
Over the feedback, I don't think so. Not literally like this. I've got people who refuse to receive that feedback, like not physically that they wouldn't be crying, but they were like shut down. They just went blank. I've had the opportunity to haven't had the opportunity. That sounds kind of weird, but no, that didn't happen to me. Like, usually
I
the
had
feedbacks are-
girls cried. I had guys cried in front of me.
You're
What did you do, Kat?
I didn't do them anything. Rule number 1: whenever you're going to in a meeting room, have tissues with you, and if that person starts crying, either offer them the tissue or offer them a glass of water. It helps to calm down. But I'll tell you 2 different stories that happened. One, I observed a guy who was screaming, literally screaming, shouting at another guy in open office. And that person was not my employee. So I wrote to the manager and I asked permission if I can speak to that person. And the manager said, yeah, go ahead. And so I went there, I stopped the shouting, and I said to my employee, because on my employee, someone shouted, I said, just stay here. And my voice was literally very calm. And I just say, you stay here and you please come with me. That was my tone of voice. And
that
as soon as we
been disturbing more than if you were
and
shouting.
interestingly
I was
enough,
there.
and interestingly enough, as soon as we entered the room, the guy started crying. And I'm like, please don't cry. I'm not going to shout on you or anything, but I just literally want to talk to you. We don't shout at people. That's not a solution. That will not resolve anything. Like, if you have issues with him or her, and you see that there is no resolution, then come to the team leader, come to the manager, and we will deal with it. But just don't shout, because your brand looks bad, because now everyone sees you as a screaming person. I've been there, I've done that, so people did see me that way, right? And then he calmed himself down. Then we discussed, like, what was the problem, right? What frustrated him? And I'm like, okay, I'll deal with that. That's not the problem. And let's meet in 2 weeks' time, and let's see whether the solution I'm going to apply, whether it worked or it didn't work. But I also want you to ask and go and apologize to the person that you shouted at him. And interestingly enough, all the people that saw the conflict, and then I entered there and I asked them, you sit here and you come to the meeting room, everyone thought I was screaming at the guy in the quiet room. I have no idea why people thought this.
Because you had a reputation, Ken.
That could be one reason. The other reason could be that usually people feel that if you need to deal with the conflict, you need to be screaming.
Yeah, I think yeah, it was really interesting. And then when I shared with them, I didn't even raise my voice. I literally offered just solution and what's the proper cultural behavior, etc. People were like stunned and confused, like, you didn't raise your voice? I'm like, no, why would I? It's inappropriate. So
yeah,
it's
it doesn't help you to get cross.
Exactly. And the second story was with also my employee, a lady, and we're supposed to have like a feedback session, and she entered the room, and I only just said,
Hello.
"Hello, is it me you're looking for?" And I just said, "We're going to discuss your performance," and she started crying, and I was like, it actually shocked me because I didn't expect that, and I'm like, okay. So I asked her, "Do you want tissues?" And I had them ready just in case. And she said no, but she asked to go out, and she went out of the room. So the rest of the team saw she's crying. I don't even want to know whatever they were thinking of me that I'd done to her. Then she came back, and then we discussed. Actually, the performance feedback was positive because she was doing really good. So it had to be something privately, maybe she just went through or something, and there was just too much emotions. Could be many things. And then people were asking me, "What did you do to her?" And I was like, "Nothing." Honestly, nothing.
So
And
when you see Kat carrying
tissues.
tissues with her, with somebody into the room, be careful. Or if you are in the room with her and there are tissues on the table, be careful what's going on, what's coming up.
And then I had another girl who got scared out of one email. The email was holding a certain message, and it frustrated her so much that when she shared it with me, she started crying, and I'm like, "Do you want to continue, or do you want to come back in one day?" And she asked literally for one day, and the next day when we discussed, I said, "But did you receive that order from me as your manager that this is going to be your job?" And she says, "No." I'm like, "Then exactly, that's your solution there. Just because you receive an information through email, that not necessarily means it dedicated to you. And whenever you have frustration feelings, come to me and we can discuss, not a problem, but I am not going to force you to do something where you don't even have a skills for." It was just a general email, just so you guys see that there is another new opportunity for people who wants to grow. That's it. That's all. That's how you should understand. So it's very interesting how people are dealing with different type of informations and how they translate them for themselves.
Yeah, and I feel that I need to share here the model behind the ego, or what's being attacked, and why people react so badly. And it was developed by David Rock. He studied neuroscience and neuropsychology in terms of exactly this giving feedback and coaching. And he created a model called SCARF. Have you ever heard about that before?
Yes.
Me not.
So SCARF is a model which represents what are the social threats around you, which threatens you, and you can get rewards upon them, which based on those you react towards your surrounding, towards your environment. So the scarf, again, like SARA model, represents something. Each letter represents one of the social threat and rewards possibility here. And it stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So status is your ego, so my position, whether it's in collective, in a team, in a community. Certainty, that you are certain that you will get something or not get something. Autonomy, that you can do it by yourself, that you are a self-standing and self-independent person. Relatedness is the relationship with people, and fairness, that you get the same treatment as everybody else. So when you are giving feedback, you are threatening one of these five, if not everything, like you're probably threatening status. That's why people get scared by feedback, because suddenly their ego is suffering, the status, their position within the community is being suffered. Certainty, they don't know what they are going into. Suddenly that's no certainty. For example, if it's job performance, like you're going with for a feedback from your boss, you might be uncertain if you get the position prolonged, maybe. Autonomy, maybe you will be supervised, micromanaged. Relatedness, how's the relationship with your boss going on from now on? Is it that I'm a bad boy or bad girl, and now my relationship with the authority gets broken down and our relationship with my mom actually gets, or with my daddy comes bad. And the fairness, am I getting the same treatment as everybody else? Is my manager fair to everybody else, like to me? Because she's giving the feedback just to me, not to everybody else. Why am I the special one? That's not fair. So this is the model SCARF, which is the behind the feedback, behind receiving or giving feedback.
And that's how we're going to close the today's session. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for the next week's session.
Annyeong.
Bye bye.
Just so you know, this podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and it is not their official channel representing the company.